I'm Mel.
And I'm Janelle.
And this is the Murder Mamas.
The Murder Mamas.
Welcome.
Welcome.
How is everything with you?
It's going great. Jump in.
Okay. Okay. So, trigger warning. I might be making fun of the state of Arkansas and Arkansas.
I'm familiar.
And politicians in general. So, if you have a problem with that, don't listen to the episode. If not, let's go.
Okay.
You got it?
Can we call it Arkansas?
Arkansas or Arkansas?
Are you going to strictly call it Arkansas?
I'm going to call it Arkansas.
Okay. I mean, it should be called Arkansas.
I mean,
I don't understand how the AR changes the entire pronunciation of the rest of the word. Anyways.
English.
Right. You struggle with that.
I do. I do. Okay. In the pre-dawn hours of August 23rd, 1987, a 6,000-ton cargo train was carrying out its nightly run to Bryant, Arkansas, when suddenly the engineer on board and the other, I don't know if they're all engineers, but the other people on board too, spotted two immobile figures lying on the tracks. He instantly blared his horn, expecting them to pop up or flinch or do something, but nothing, not even a twitch. The train hit the two bodies, carrying them under for what seemed like an eternity, but it was really about a half a mile. So these train conductors had hit several animals, throughout their train conducting days. I don't know.
Tenure.
So they're used to that, Mm-hmm. But these were bodies. They could tell that they were bodies. So that affected them a lot.
I'm sure it did.
And when they went to go look out at them, it was not what animals used to look like. So something was different.
Okay.
So the two bodies...
I always feel so bad when you hear about people who, commit
to,
do that.
Yeah.
Via train. I'm like...
Because the conductor saw...
Yeah.
And he's like... No, this is my responsibility. Yeah. And there's no way that train is going to stop. It took a half a mile for it to stop. Yeah. So that's just, don't involve other people. Just don't do it.
Don't do it at all.
Don't do it at all, but especially don't involve other people.
It always makes me feel.
It's fucked up. So the two bodies were identified as 16-year-old Don Henry and 17-year-old Kevin Ives, best friends, notorious goofballs, and popular seniors from Bryant High School. Bryant is a smaller town in the suburb of Little Rock. Okay. There's not that many people there, so everybody knows everybody, and pretty much the whole cop system is in on bad things and things that they're getting paid off, basically.
Okay.
So it's not the best town to be in if you have an issue that you need to call the police because they're probably in on it and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So Kevin and Don were both typical teenage boys. They loved to goof around, work on their cars, and hunt in the woods near their homes. Don was a jokester, and Kevin was his loyal companion who would always laugh at his lighthearted jokes. The two popular seniors spent their weekends double dating and hanging out with friends. Not much to do in their part of town. So okay. On August 22nd, 1987, the boys kicked off the evening at a popular hangout place at the outskirts of Little Rock and then carried on back to Don's house. Kevin waited on the porch while Don went inside to let his dad know that they were going to go out for a round of spotlighting in the woods. Spotlighting is illegal. And this is in Arkansas, so this is at midnight that they're going to do this. Okay. They carry a flashlight. They go to a deer. The deer gets stunned by looking at the flashlight, and then the person shoots the deer. So it's kind of a unfair thing because the deers freeze when they look at lights, and then the other person will go and shoot him. So you're not really hunting.
So the deer hunting by shining a flashlight in their eyes
illegal
at night?
Yeah. Which makes sense because there's a lot of laws regarding hunting and
fishing.
And fishing. But that's not a fair practice.
I would say killing them at all is not
I don't
practice,
think anything, but that's really fucked up.
Yes.
You're not using your hunting abilities, you're just taking it to I don't know.
Yeah, you're shooting fish in a barrel.
Exactly.
So that's what you're trying to say.
So anyway, but they were used to doing that. They have been doing that for a long time. Like they grew up doing this kind of thing. So with a 22 rifle.
So they're lawbreakers.
Yeah, they are. With a 22 rifle and flashlight in hand, Don and Kevin set out for their night hunt. It's technically an illegal activity in Arkansas, and I'm pretty sure in other places too, but I didn't look up, like, if it's everywhere. And one person would shine the spotlight on a deer, making it stare at the light, while the other boy would shoot the animal. The boys strolled around their usual hunting ground, a path along the railroad tracks that ran behind Don's house.
You mean their usual law-breaking grounds?
Their law-breaking grounds, yes. A little while earlier, engineer Stephen Stroyer couldn't believe his eyes. As the train approached, the engineers noticed two static figures on the tracks. Quote, I started laying down on the diesel horn, but I got no reaction, not so much as a flinch. And he mentioned that in an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Schroer explained that they were lying exactly parallel on the tracks with their arms by their sides and a light green tarp covering half of their bodies. Oh. Quote, we just passed over them. So it was like they were laying parallel. So their head was on one like rail and then the feet would be on the other rail and then their arms are like just right next to them, both sitting there or laying there.
With a tarp covering the lower half of their body?
Covering the lower half of the body.
That's interesting. Because how would they put the tarp there if they were both dead when they were...
Right.
I'm presuming they were dead and placed on the track.
Yeah. Right. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. So the state medical examiner, a man named Dr. Fahmy Malik, was responsible for the initial autopsy and came out with the claim that the boys had smoked around 20 joints that night of marijuana, which has caused them to pass out on the tracks, and that's why they didn't wake up and flinch. First of all, sir.
What year is this? 1980?
80 something, yeah.
Okay, first of all, I'm sure the weed was garbage.
Yeah, in Arkansas in like 88, nothing. It's like half oregano.
It's just straight dirt. Like, it's not. I'm almost guaranteed it's not good.
No. They didn't smoke, and then 20 no, I'm sorry. And it's a blunt. It wouldn't be 20 cigarettes. Just call it a blunt.
Well, didn't he say 20 joints?
20 joints. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, not cigarettes.
But
like no, they didn't.
That is such an obscene amount.
They left their house at 12:30 to go hunting in the woods, and the train came by about 4. So you're telling me between 12:30 and 4, they smoked 20 joints between the two of them?
5 joints an hour, baby.
Like, I smoke a lot of weed. It's not that. And I would wake up. I take Xanax and I smoke a lot of weed, and my puppy in the middle of the night wakes me up and lets me know he has to go potty. And I wake up every time.
I mean, let's just be honest. Like, how is the determination of the amount of marijuana in I'm assuming the THC amount in their body equated to 20 joints, and you're able to extrapolate over what period of time they smoked that? Like, absolutely. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yep. So according to Malik...
I'm not done.
Okay.
There's no way.
No, there's not.
But, like, I'm assuming they knew this area, right? Like, they had to have had, it's their regular law-breaking grounds.
Right.
So they had a familiarity with that land.
The train comes by every night at that time.
Even if they smoked their 20 marijuana cigarettes, they wouldn't have laid on the train tracks.
No.
First off, uncomfy.
Right.
Uncomfy as fuck. And that medical examiner has never been high.
No.
Because it's about comfort. Put me on a little stack of nice cushy leaves, not some fucking train tracks.
Right.
They're rocks?
Mm-hmm.
Metal? Mm-hmm. No fucking way.
No.
No fucking way.
Yep.
That's my hot take.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
That's true.
I smoked a lot of weed in my day. Not anymore, but I used to.
According to Malik, they were too high to hear the train's horn, and he ruled the thing as an accident.
Well, he's a liar.
Quote, we checked the train and it was 98 decibels, which is equal to a jackhammer running. At 103 decibels, it would be like a jet flying 100 feet over you. So
Absolutely not.
there's no way, like, you would wake up to that. Jet flying 100 feet above you, like, that's... Yeah.
Weed doesn't even incapacitate you like that. Like, it makes you sleepy.
Right.
But it's not like it's like Xanax or
Ambien.
or even alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, where like it really like knocks you down.
Right.
You know?
Sure. No, it's not. And it says, I don't think no one can sleep through that kind of noise, Curtis Henry, Dodd's father, explained. Outraged and devastated, the families fought hard for a second autopsy, and thanks to their persistence, the bodies were exhumed. Because the parents were like, absolutely not. Like, my boys may have, like, done something, but they did not smoke that much marijuana and then lay down on the trap. Like, they're not dumb. They do this all the time. It's their past activity. Like, they've been friends for years, and this is what they do. So this time it was oh my God, I can't talk. This time it was a man named Joseph Burton, a nationally recognized forensic pathologist from out of state. While Malik concluded that the boys were high as 1,000 kites, Burton said that they had likely smoked just 1 or 2 joints, which seems more reasonable.
Yeah.
Probably. Joseph Burton.
So could you imagine just being in the woods and like, were they pre-rolled? To that, I don't think those existed at the time. There's not dispensaries in this time. Like,
they'd have to, like, at midnight be rolling 20 different joints.
20 joints.
And they probably didn't roll them all at once. Like, they smoke one.
Oh my God. And then you're trying to roll a
Yeah.
joint in the middle of the woods?
Absolutely not.
That is, I mean, it's such a... I used to roll my own cigarettes for a little while. And that is such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, no.
No way.
Nope. No. Joseph Burton found evidence that Kevin's face had been smashed by a blow from the butt of an end of a rifle and that Don had been stabbed in the back.
Oh.
It's weird how he found that, but the first guy didn't. And isn't that amazing that they can actually find that? Like, after they've been run over by a train, he could track down and trace the fact that he had been stabbed. This guy had been, hit. Like...
How is he able to tell that it's like the different impacts? Because I'm sure the train did a lot of damage to them.
I think it was decapitating, right? And then it was on the feet, and then the bodies were left.
Torso.
Yeah, the torsos were like kind of left, so he could see the fact that like there was a knife wound in there that was not caused by a train. Yeah. Like, but I mean, still, it's pretty fucking amazing that they can do that.
Really amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing that one of them's able to do that, and the one being paid and or working with the local police department is not. Mm-hmm. I get where we're going.
Yeah. Both attacks happened.
We've
been many times.
Quite a few.
Both attacks happened before they were placed on the tracks. This would explain the thickness of their blood, as noted by the emergency first responders who first arrived at the scene. Also, the train conductors knew this as well, because when they looked out in the thing, they said normal. The blood, if it comes out of you right away, they were expecting bright red, runny blood. Mm. What they saw was thick, gluey, purple blood. So that's like, obviously it wasn't fresh.
Yeah.
And so they were like, the conductors made a note of that, and the EMTs made a note of that. Burton believed that this information alone suggested that the boys had been badly injured or even killed before the bodies were run over by the train.
What did they stumble upon?
Right? Well, let's find out.
What situation did they accidentally walk upon?
Yep. Arguably, the most discerning thing Burton noticed was how severely mutilated their bodies were, thanks to none other than our dearest friend, Malik. Malik had mutilated Kevin's skull by sawing it in different directions and had also completely dismantled his jaw. It looked like he had purposely messed around with Kevin to make it impossible to tell what the original injuries were. So he's being paid off. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Oh.
These are kids.
What a fucking dick.
Yeah. And quote,
No.
I've performed thousands of autopsy and have never seen anything like this, Burton said.
Is this guy fucking charged with, like, obstructing justice?
He will, like, we'll get there, but yeah. When confronted with Burton's new findings, Malik remained loyal to his original verdict. Where was the stab? The answer is no. Were they dead beforehand? Absolutely not. They were alive, unquote. In addition to Burton, 2 additional forensic pathologists and 7 other forensic investigators with years of accumulated experience reviewed the case. It was their collective opinion that the ruling be changed from accidental to murder.
Good.
In addition, more than 20 additional cases where Malik had falsified evidence surfaced in the news. His rulings included a, quote, suicide for a man who had been shot 5 times in the chest.
Are you fucking kidding?
And an ulcer for another man who was found decapitated. When he was asked about that, he said, oh, it must have been the dog that was in there that made a straight line decapitate the person's head. Because, when dogs chew, they make a straight line. So it must have been the dog. That was his answer.
So he died from an ulcer and then the dog chewed the head off?
Decapitated the guy.
In a straight
line. Like a knife would make. Or whatever you make.
I mean, when your dog holds a knife in between its teeth and then cuts your head off. As they do, right? With their sophisticated brains and their thumbs.
So
what the fuck?
This guy's obviously got his pockets,
It is so deeply disturbing how one person can make such an impact and they have the ability to be, bribed.
Yeah. And this is a small town. And it's in Arkansas. And I'm sorry, but, it's the South. And, it's considered
the South?
I think it's considered the South, yes. Because when we went to
one place in
Arkansas, it was considered the South. It's the Bible Belt. And living in a small town, all the cops are friends with each other. Don't fucking live in a small town. I've never lived in a small town. I don't know what it's like, but it always seems like there's that group, and if you fuck with them, if you're on the outside of them, they're just not gonna help you.
Well, this reminds me a lot of that case. The name is escaping me. Kansas, where the trailer lit on fire, and the girls were gone.
Yeah.
And then the police did basically fucking nothing because they had shot her brother the year before.
Yeah. Don't give a shit.
And walked over the bodies.
Yeah. Is it small? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. Media coverage of Malik's dishonest rulings resulted in a massive public outcry with calls for his removal from office. But Arkansas's governor at the time, Bill Clinton, and Chairman Joyce Elders not only insisted he remain, but gave him a $14,000 raise, which was equivalent to 40% raise. Quote, based on the facts that I have...
making a lot of money to be a doctor as a fucking doctor.
This is in the 80s, who knows? Based on the fact that I have, I feel that Arkansas owes Dr. Malik a great debt and a real apology, Joycelyn told the interviews. Clinton agreed and added that if Malik missed out on any details, it was because he was simply overworked, tired, and underpaid. Okay, Clinton. I did not inhale. That's all I gotta say.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I just put a cigar in her pussy.
Oh, Malik wasn't the only sketchy player involved in this investigation.
So this goes up to the fucking governor?
The top. Yes. So he's been dealing in this shady shit. So he's a drug runner for this part of Arkansas, basically, is what's happening. I think they found a drug is what... this case is unsolved, quote, but we know who did it.
I'm just, mind blown that...
And then the story goes another way as well, which I don't get into because it was just, confusing. Clinton's mom did something, I think she was in office somehow and she cheated or did something like that and got reprimanded. Like, she was even involved. Like, she had, like, Clinton's mom's involved too. I don't know. I don't remember what she did, but, like, the whole thing is, like, one big government cop cover-up thing.
These poor fucking kids.
Yeah, like, they have no
They
chance.
just wanted to deer hunt
Yeah,
illegally.
illegally.
And this is what happened to them.
Yeah.
God, biggest fear, right? Like, this is like not my biggest fear.
No,
but like, okay, one time we pulled up to a rest stop while driving to California, and there was like a biker gang there, just like parked and sitting at these tables, and I was like, I feel like we're interrupting something,
Yeah.
like, but the kids really need to get out of the car.
Yeah.
And so, like, we parked kind of far away and just, like, tried to, like, keep our distance. But it was, like, it felt like they were, like, waiting for someone.
Probably.
And I'm like, we need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, okay, boys, you have 4 minutes. Run. And just, like, not looking over at all. Like, I see nothing. I see nothing. I see nothing.
Yep.
Because, yeah, like... Yeah, no, you do you.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do.
I don't care. I just gotta pee.
Whatever you need to do. I'm just not paying attention, not looking.
Yeah.
But, like, there's times where I'm in situations I'm like, I don't think I should be here. Not so much anymore, but, like, definitely a lot.
There's been a lot, yeah.
In my teen and, like, college days. Like, I'm not sure I want to be here, and I don't think I was ever supposed to know any of this. Like,
it's true.
I'd like to leave.
Goodbye.
I'm done, and I know nothing. Again, I'm very dumb. Yep. I'm very stupid. I have zero memory.
Nope.
Never remember a thing.
So, quote, reliable sources all the way from the federal officials to local officers were caught acting suspiciously. Stephen Stroyer, the engineer from the train, said that he had told police about the tarp, but they later denied his claims. So the tarp never turned up. And I don't know, like, what significance that has or why the hell it mattered if there's a tarp or not, but...
I mean, for me, I think it matters a lot, right?
Well, yeah.
Like, if they're placed on the tracks, it's not like they're laying themselves under a tarp.
Right.
Dead if they're already placed there dead, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're...
But, like, why not... Why not just be like, yeah, the tarp was there, we collected it and put it in evidence? Like, why go as far as...
No one's gonna fucking check.
Yeah, exactly.
Just say the evidence got lost.
Yeah.
I don't know. Light some shit on fire. Steal some cocaine from the evidence room.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Oh. It says, quote, they even... I know, right?
It doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't. It said, quote, they even questioned its existence. To me, that would be like questioning the existence of the boys on the track. Because what's real is real and what's not is not. And it was there, and as well as the boys, unquote. In spite of it all, local Sheriff Jim Steed told the media he was extremely pleased with the, quote, thorough investigation that was going on. Unfortunately, the boys were at the wrong place and the wrong time, and their casual stroll into the woods landed them smack in the middle of a drug drop. A drug drop involving people from the good-hearted community of ordinary local citizens, including the police.
This is allegedly, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But, I mean, yeah. In comes a man named Dan Harmon. He is a key figure in the story of corruption. Harmon is a former prosecutor who suspiciously insisted on taking the boys' case, despite having multiple domestic abuse charges thrown at him by his ex-wives. He has, for some reason, always been protected by the law. Harmon grew close to the grieving families, embracing them with arms wide open and assuring them that he would find the killer.
With arms wide open. Can't say that sentence without singing Creed.
Little did they know Harmon was involved in the whole scheme. From up close, Harmon was...
This is also allegedly, correct?
No, this is for true.
For truth?
For true.
For real life?
For real life.
Okay.
From up close, Harmon was easily able to manipulate the case in his favor. As 1988 came to an end, so did the investigation. It had been over a little over a year, yet nothing had really changed. A bunch of suspicious behavior, ridiculous claims, and above all, the case had the same dodgy group of people, quote, investigating it. Things finally began to shift once Gene Duffy, a newly appointed prosecutor, was hired to investigate the drug and corruption issues in the Saline County area.
I mean, like, can't they call in, like,
the FBI? Yeah,
or, like,
I know.
The
I think they do get in.
Bureau of Investigation.
Right.
Like, I know Georgia has one.
Yeah.
The GBI.
Yeah, we always hear about the Georgia one.
Doesn't always help because it's the same guy for the same area.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's okay.
Yep.
It's tried.
So, before she began connecting the dots, she was warned not to look into anything involving government officials.
Oh.
On her first...
Suspicious at all.
It's like a totally fucked up case.
Hey, you can do whatever you want for your job, except that one little thing right there. Mm-mm. You're not allowed to touch that one thing right there. Has that person ever met anyone? Like, you tell me not to touch something?
Nah, I'm gonna touch it.
Especially if it's like a mystery. Oh, bitch.
It's gonna be touched.
It is going to be touched. It is going to be fondled. It is going to be thoroughly investigated. There's no way.
Right.
There's no way.
On her first day at work, Duffy's immediate supervisor, Gary Arnold, stood in front of her, looked her straight in the eye, and told her, quote, "You are not to use the drug task force to investigate any public official." Did I already say that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so drug task force, the first thing I need you to do is to investigate every public official.
Right, exactly.
Like,
starting with Bill Clinton.
Top down. Bottom up. Whatever.
As confused as she was by his remarks, she shrugged it off because at the time she genuinely didn't believe that there were any cops involved in illegal acts. Yeah.
So pure.
Yeah. After hiring undercover agents to collect information on drug activities in the district, she discovered there was a huge drug smuggling ring operation out of Mena Airport and that packages were being dropped off in the exact same spot where Kevin and Don had been murdered.
Oh.
Duffy's undercover agents came to her with names of the people involved, and one name in particular stood out both because of how frequently it came up, but also because of the person's status. It was Dan Harmon, the state's, quote, law-abiding and, quote, honest prosecutor. Ironically, Dan Harmon and fellow prosecutor Richard Garrett, the very same people working on Don and Kevin's murder case, were now two of Gene Duffy's main targets. It wasn't long before Harmon detected Duffy was after him. Harmon wasted no time and launched a massive media campaign against Gene Duffy. He spread lies upon lies, doing whatever he possibly could to lower her status and credibility.
Oh, fuck you.
Unfortunately, the man was so well connected that nobody questioned whether he was speaking the truth.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah. Magazines and newspapers printed whatever he asked of them. Whether he had evidence to back up his claims was utterly irrelevant. He left Duffy no choice. She eventually quit and became a school teacher in Texas until things quieted down.
Is there no, like, journalistic integrity to, like, fact check and make sure what you're putting out is...
No, they didn't care because it's a small town. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's bought. Like, everybody's just handed money under the table and be like, okay, I'll print whatever you want me to print.
Oh, I would get killed so fast.
Yeah. But that's like how small towns are. Like, I'm sorry, small town people, but like, get out. Go live in a big city. Not that that's, I mean, like, there's bad things about that too, but when everybody knows everybody's name in a small town, that's too small. It's too small.
My dream is to move into a very small town.
No, fuck that.
No, listen. But, like, on the outskirts and never speak to anyone and just become, like, a local myth or, like, a legend where people, like, create stories. Like, go to the store, never talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Just completely silent.
Like a black cloak.
Yes. And only turn the lights on in the house at night, like, on Halloween night, but they're all red lights or something. Just like weird, crazy
Fuck
shit.
with people.
Yeah, to make like 200 people just like, what the fuck is with these people? And that's it.
And that's it. Yep.
That's like one of mine and Chris's dreams. We've talked about it in depth.
Do it.
Preferably if the house is on a hill. That's
awesome.
ideal.
Okay.
With a big gate.
Yeah. I love it.
That's...
Through the years, people with information about Kevin and Dawn's murder would be killed. And all their cases grew cold, except for the murder of one man named Keith Miscali, who's said to have been murdered by his neighbor, even though there was no virtually evident, no, blah, 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 even though there's virtually no evidence to back that up. Even more concerning is that Miscali had reportedly told his friends and family a few days before he was killed that he knew too much about the murders of Kevin and Dawn, and he felt that his days were numbered. So he knew that these people were coming after him because he knew too much information.
I'm surprised he didn't get decapitated by his dog.
Exactly.
His knife-wielding dog. You know, to die of an ulcer.
Yep. Witness and victim number 2 is Keith Coney, a friend of Kevin and Dawn's, who was with them that night.
Oh.
Like Miscali, someone saw Coney as a potential threat and decided to kill him off. Coney's mom, Betty Alexander, informed interviewers that she knew her son was afraid for his life. Oh. Quote, a couple months before, he said a couple of times that he knew he was being watched and that he was afraid. Despite the obvious connections, officers refused to link Conley and McCall's deaths to Kevin and Dawn's. Prosecutor Richard Garrett stated that both fellows probably suffered from, quote, a lot of paranoia.
I mean, imagine being, like, so deep into fucked up shit where, like, now you're just killing tons of people.
Just people that just...
probably would never say anything.
No, they don't give a fuck. Like, they're kids. Like, some of these were kids.
I mean, I'm not going to say they don't give a fuck, but, like, maybe they know no one's going to listen to them, so they're never going to talk about this. But, like, they're the paranoid ones. Like, you're so paranoid that you're getting all these people killed.
Yeah, you're just killing people.
Is this a conspiracy theory, or is, like, this real?
No, this is real.
No fucking way.
In 1993, the Ives family urged to reopen Dawn and Kevin's murder case, and the new man assigned to it was an out-of-state detective named John Brown. However, just like Gene Duffy, Brown was given some bizarre instructions on his first day at work. His immediate supervisor took him for a 1-hour ride to, quote, literally nowhere, all while blabbing on and going about the bush saying things like, quote, there's nothing to this. This could have been an accident. It's going to bring you a lot of grief if you continue to do this. Finally, I know, right? Finally, when they parked the car, his supervisor said, quote, John, you really need to leave this alone.
What is he doing?
I know.
It's his first day.
I know. It's ridiculous. Disturbed by his superior's request, Brown decided to do some digging, obviously.
Duh.
It soon became evident that the case file had been robbed of crucial evidence. There were no crime scene photos, no sketches of the accident scene, no list of evidence, and they had let the train after that one go through. Like, they didn't stop the train from going through the site so that they could collect evidence. They just let the next scheduled train drive through. The one thing John Brown managed to collect was valuable testimony from a woman named Charlene Wilson, who claimed to have been there that night. Quote, she told a horror story that I didn't really believe at the time, Brown said, so I started searching for evidence to substantiate what she said. That's when Harmon went ballistic. He threatened everyone, all because I talked to this one woman. Wilson told Brown that the people on the track that night were herself, Dan Harmon, Keith Mescal, and an individual named Larry Rochelle. She also claimed to have seen the boys that night on the tracks. Quote, they were watching the drop sites and they got curious as to what was being dropped there. Dan Harmon wasn't pleased with Wilson's little confession, so he began sending death threats to Brown in the hopes of scaring him off. But Detective Brown stuck around for a while, interviewing more and more people, including pilots from the Mina airport, to verify whether they had any knowledge of the shady flights.
Someone needs to kill Dan Harmon.
I know.
I mean, I'm not advocating for murdering anyone.
No, but he needs to go.
But,
no
seems
matter
kind of like a menace.
Yeah. No matter how hard he tried, John Brown was up against a mountain of resistance when it came to the investigation of both Mina Airport and the deaths of the boys. Like Duffy, he eventually retired from the force for fear of what snooping around might lead to. After driving Duffy out of state and forcing John Brown into early retirement, Dan Harmon appointed his loyal pal Roger Walls as head of the new task force, which is pretty much the same position once held by Duffy.
I'm sorry, why don't you just, like, if this guy has so much fucking power, why doesn't he just say case closed stop
Right.
putting more people on it?
It was case closed, but then
the family forced it to be reopened.
Yeah, they got the other guy to come in.
Like, at this point, just say, it's a cold case and we're not investigating it anymore. Like, you can say whatever the fuck you want, man.
Right.
You own this town.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fucked.
Like, why are you going through hiring these people, telling them not to investigate this, and then firing them?
Right.
Like, stop the fucking horse and pony show or whatever the fuck the saying is, and just close the case. Like, I don't want that to happen.
Right.
But, like...
Yeah. For a while there, Harmon felt...
like what you should do.
I know. He felt like he was in control, but his criminal ways eventually caught up to him. In the mid-90s, both he and his buddy Roger Walls were convicted of several felonies, including drug charges and racketeering. Unfortunately, investigators never connected Harmon's drugs crimes to the murders of the Tracks from 1987 because they weren't allowed to look into anything from the 80s. So despite his arrest, justice hasn't really been served yet. Wilson wasn't the only one witness putting Harmon's name on the map. A young boy named Tom Niehaus claimed to be in the woods as well and confirmed that Dan Harmon was really there that night. He knew for a fact it was him because at the time, his mother was dating Harmon. So there was like, no, that couldn't be him. Yeah. I know that fucking face. He's at my house fucking my mom. So he didn't say that, but I mean, like, he knew the guy.
Yes.
So there was no way he would have been mistaken about his, like, face for somebody else. Tom said that he kept his distance from Harmon and the rest of the group, peeking at them from afar. He then spotted two guys, Don and Kevin, with a rifle and a flashlight, minding their own business, and when Harmon spotted them, he signaled for them to come closer. At first they hesitated, but eventually they agreed to go near. Tom added that at a certain point, he heard what sounded like a gunshot, followed by a sudden flash. He and his friends were so terrified that they turned on their heels and made a run for it. So we still don't know if it was Harmon or a police officer that made that shot, or if the boys made a shot to try and, like, scare them. There was a gunshot that went off, and then they took off and ran.
So my question is, where was this guy before? Like, was he saying, like...
This kid was out there in the woods.
No. I know physically where he was, but I'm saying, where was he... Was he saying, like, was he going to police and, like, I saw this and no one was listening to him?
No.
Or is he just now coming forward?
He was scared at the time because he was younger, and now he's, like, he's an adult, so he's coming back and saying this.
What he should do is go to his mom and say, hey, Mom, the guy that you're dating, I saw him do this really weird thing on the train tracks.
Sure.
And, like, there's these dead kids on the train tracks.
Maybe he did, and his mom was like, no. Like, she knew. Who knows?
I guess I'm just not, like, a shitty person.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine my kid being like, hey, I saw Dad do this really shady fucking thing. And me be like,
shh, just brush it off.
We'll just shut our mouth.
Yeah.
But, nah. Your dad's going to jail, son.
Yep. So this testimony, as well as Wilson's, was kept under wraps for years. What's crazier is that Wilson wrote a confession letter revealing everything, a letter that targeted Dan Harmon and uncovered some ugly truths about what was happening in the area. But due to some influential and evil people, the confession letter never reached the Ives and Henry families. So, like, The boy's parents never got to read that letter that he wrote. 2 days after Streed lost the election, Keith Maskell, one of Harmon's informants in the case, who was asked by Harmon to take aerial photographs of the crime scene, was murdered. Maskell was also well-known manager of a local club on the Saline County-Pulaski line. On January 22, 1989, 26-year-old Gray Collins, who had been called to testify before the grand jury, died from 3 shotgun blasts to the face. In addition, just weeks before, Collins' friend Keith Conley, who was also called to testify to the grand jury, died in a motorcycle accident. By March 1989, another recipient of a subpoena to appear before the grand jury, Daniel, quote, Bonnie Bearden, had disappeared. Another death supposedly connected with the case was that of 21-year-old Jeffrey Edwards Rhodes, whose body was found in a landfill in April 1989. The deaths were ruled homicides in March 1990, and yet another investigation per the Arkansas Gazette, there was no reported arrests. So everybody that's been called to witness and testify has been killed.
So how much of a raise did Clinton give Dan Harmon?
Yeah. In 2015, a retired police officer and friend of Linda Ives, Kevin's mom, managed to get his hands on Charlene's letter. Linda then took it straight to Saline County prosecutor Ken Cassidy, who rudely brushed her off and even refused to look at it. He told her to see the Saline County sheriff instead. Guess who that was?
Dan Harmon?
Dan Harmon's nephew, a man named Rodney Wright. So Linda's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Show the letter and, like, accuse his uncle of being a drug lord and murderer? Like, where is she supposed to go with this from now? There's never gonna be justice.
Nope.
It's just fucking nepotism and who you know. Just to get out of small towns. Like, this is a small town for you. Putting all the pieces together, Dawn and Kevin went out hunting the very same night that Charlene Wilson, Dan Harmon, and another guy named Larry Rochelle were out there in the woods waiting for their drugs to fall from the sky. Kevin and Dawn were walking along the tracks and happened to stumble upon Dan Harmon and the rest, as witnessed by Tom Niehaus and his group of friends who were peeking at them from a bush nearby. A shot was fired, and by either Harmon's group or by one of the boys. But that's not the end of the story. The boys didn't die from the gunshot. They reportedly managed to run out of the woods, eventually reaching a local grocery store where they met their friend Keith Connie, according to 2 eyewitnesses from the store named Robbie Goodwin and Mike Crook. Goodwin and Crook told investigators that Connie left on his motorcycle when 2 police officers, Kirk Lane and Jay Campbell, showed up and beat Kevin and Dawn unconscious outside the store.
What the fuck?
They were then thrown into the vehicle and taken back to the tracks, where they were placed side by side and covered with a green tarp. With a heavy heart and a long face, Henry's mom, Linda, told interviewers, quote, "Our lives revolved around the ball field and going to the lake until Arkansas political machine reached into our lives and destroyed the tranquility that we had. Tragically, no one has been held accountable for the murders. Dan Harmon was thrown behind bars for drug charges and other felonies, and many more corrupted officials were tossed into jails for all sorts of crimes they couldn't get away with, but no one has ever been arrested for Dawn and Kevin's murders."
Aww.
Isn't that...
So is that all of what you just read, that's according to that confession letter?
Mm-hmm.
That they saw, like, at the end?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And so the kid that there was the kid that saw his friends Kevin and Dawn, he was on a motorbike. He had a motorcycle, so he took off and went back to his house. That's the kid that was killed on his motorcycle because he was going to testify. And they said that, what was it, like he was trying to speed away from somebody, that someone was following him, but like they ruled it an accident, saying he was going too fast and rammed into the back of a semi truck and it killed him.
Well, and I mean, maybe the knife-wielding dog was somewhere around there.
Fucking was like, "Rrr, rrr, rrr."
I mean,
can you believe this?
that is insane.
And this goes to Clinton. Like, that's his town that he was in. like living in, and he was like giving that fucking autopsy guy the raise and everything. Like, go fuck yourself, Clinton. Give me a call.
Is this where he was from? Like,
Yeah.
originally?
I think a town by there. I don't know. He was governor of Arkansas, so he was like really into like the drug trade going on because there was a shit ton of drugs being dropped in that town at that time.
I'm just thinking, like, I know it's like, I'm sure they weren't thinking rationally.
Yeah.
But if they had just let the kids walk away, the kids would probably have never said anything.
No.
Or, like, said to their friends, like, yo, we saw this really weird shit happen down by the train tracks, but, like, I don't know what the fuck it really was. And then just, that was it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have uncovered this gigantic like drug smuggling thing when he's so fucking connected anyways. None of that really matters. Right? Like those two boys seeing something.
There were cops there. They could have just said, hey, get home. It's too late. Why are you outside?
Exactly.
And then they would have been like,
we're
oh shit, we gotta go.
We're investigating something down here.
Like, you didn't have to beat the shit out of them.
There was a crime that happened. Like, there's so many things they could have done and actions they could have taken.
But they're all assholes, so.
And they just chose to, like, senselessly murder these poor kids.
And then, like, four other people?
And then, like, a bunch of other people. Yeah. Like, why would you spin a web so large over something that you could have just been like, you don't see shit.
Yeah.
And they probably would have been like, got it.
Bye. Yeah.
You know? Or even have the police just escort them out of the woods back to wherever they came from.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It just, to me, feels very unnecessary.
A little bit, yeah.
Feels very House of Cardsy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Remember that show?
Yes.
You know when he pushes the girl in front of the train? I think because they were like sleeping together or something. Yeah. And that's really what this said.
It's fucked up. God. That's just fucked up people.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's like small towns. They've just got a hold of people, like, move out, get into a bigger city. I mean, I know, you know, like LA cops and Houston cops and all that have their issues too, but like it's such a large like department that you could probably go to one corner and figure out
really
somewhere.
Funny.
What?
That's really funny.
What?
You keep saying get out of small towns, and I feel like we live in a small town.
We do live in a small town. But we live on the outskirts of a huge town of like 3 million people. Like, it's not like we live 40 miles.
Well, and like there's 60,000 people in our town. Right. So it's not really small,
not that
but like
small, but it is
from where we're from, it's very small.
It is small from where we're from, yes. But it's also not a 4-hour drive to where 3 million people live, or however many people live in Houston. I don't know. It's like,
it's a lot.
It's
the fourth biggest metroplex.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't live in a small town.
I said maybe the third now, but it does feel like a small town to me.
It does, in our little community. Yeah. It's cool.
Our bubble,
yeah.
I love the bubble. Anyways, that was terrible, and I hated that.
Right? Like, I knew about the boys on the tracks, but I didn't realize it, like, tied all the way up to the governor of the state. Like, what the fuck? And then Clinton's mom was involved too. I don't know how. I don't remember, so I'm not going to try. But all I know is something happened with her as well. And I was like, what the fuck? The whole family's corrupt. Like, everybody's corrupt. The cops are corrupt. The politicians are corrupt. Everyone's fucking corrupt. Why? Yeah. Why?
This is why, like, at one point I was like, I want to be a politician. I'm like, I could never be a politician. Like, I can't lie like that.
You can't sit there and just fucking lie out of your ass.
I can't do it.
About murder, about drugs, I mean, it's horrible.
I could never.
No.
I could never. That's not for me.
No. It takes a certain person to be a politician.
I'm not the person.
Nope.
Well,
so
that made me feel terrible and also afraid to accidentally witness anything.
Just take off running. Fuck.
I'm blind.
I
just
can't see. Goodbye.
Yeah. I'm blind and also deaf.
Oh, but I can talk.
You know what? Don't ask too many questions. Please don't kill me.
Don't do it.
Oh, fuck, man. That's so sad.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
They just were trying to
And,
live
like,
their life.
we know who did it, but, like, nobody's been held accountable, and that's really fucked up for the parents. Because they knew. They knew. They're like, no.
Everyone knew.
Like, everyone knew.
Hey, I'm just laughing. Like, hey, you can't investigate this one specific person for
Right.
this one specific crime, but you have free reign to every other investigation
All
you've
of it.
ever wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
except for this one person, one crime.
Yep. Not
Can't
that.
investigate it.
Can't do that.
Like,
Yeah.
could you make it any more obvious?
And they don't even care. Like, he's not even trying to not be obvious. You know, he's not even trying to cover
What's
it
the
up.
point?
Like, they're just, yeah.
It's like when you walk up and like your kid's doing something they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, when my kids were younger, they would be like, "Oh, I'm not making a mess."
Right.
I wasn't asking, but now I'm very curious. Like, but no, I'm not painting all by myself.
That's weird.
Interesting. I wasn't talking to you, but okay. Let me promptly find out what you are doing.
Right?
Like, that's whatever. It's just such a childish thought process.
Yeah, it is.
We're like, just hide shit? I don't know. I don't. Wow.
Yep.
That's fucked up. Well, thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at
The Murder Mamas.
Facebook,
The M Mamas.
Twitter,
The Murder Mamas.
email.
The Murder Mamas at gmail.com.
And if you like us and are happy with our content, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We would appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.